things that people. Hello, everybody. Hey,
Hey,
Melody.
gang. Hi.
Melody, I was
I'm in
talking
my
to
car.
Dallin before.
Sorry.
What's that?
I said I'll be sitting in my car.
We'll allow it. Dallin said he spoke in St. Cloud this year, so I thought you'd like to know that.
What? Dang it.
Yeah.
Everybody comes to St. Cloud, but I can't
Appa-
get work here, but
Right.
other people do.
Apparently, there's quite a few conferences in St. Cloud, which
Yeah. Were you at the conference center right on the river there? Do you
it
remember?
was one attached to a hotel. What
Yeah.
was it?
River's Edge Convention Center by the
Yeah.
Kelly Inn.
No,
No?
no, it wasn't that fancy. I think it might have been. I'm assuming the Riverside is fancy because every other Riverside I've been to has been fancy.
It
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 It's
might
is
not
have
that
pretty
fancy.
actually.
fancy, but the Holiday Inn does a lot of conferences too there.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it might have been yeah, it was the Hilton Garden Inn, more like in
Oh,
Waite
okay.
Park.
Okay.
Gotcha. Oh, the Park Event Center, maybe?
Yes, yeah, it was the I think it was the Park Event Center that's
What
like
were you
attached to
speaking
it.
for?
The Irrigators Association of
Oh,
Minnesota.
okay.
Yeah.
There you go.
We were talking about that
Yeah.
beforehand, just like all the different associations there are, and like, yeah, there's something for
Right.
everybody.
I was just reaching out yesterday, or I started to, and then I have to finish the email, but to the Minnesota Association of Senior Services. So I'm like, somebody mentioned that to me the other day. I'm like, well, that certainly sounds up right up my alley. So got to
Yeah.
connect with those folks. But yeah, and then someone from the Convention and Visitors Bureau or Greater Visit Greater St. Cloud, it's called. I'm on our chamber board of directors, and so she's like, send me your stuff because a lot of times conferences are coming and they're looking for speakers. So I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
sweet, I'll send you some
Yeah.
promo gear.
Well, let's get started. So, as a reminder to everybody, we are recording. This is the gold member session. So, the people that are either I know exactly. There should be like music or something. So, Dallin said he would do an event, but only if it was the gold tier status. So he's kind of picky that way. So,
Yeah,
if
because
you're
I definitely know what that means.
right, exactly, 100%. Just it's really impressive. It's just held for the most elite speakers. It was Eric Termundi before this, and now you. So we're holding you in high regard. But just a
Yeah,
reminder, we
that's
are
good company.
it's good company. You are in good company. Yeah. So just as a reminder, we're recording. I'll do a little bit of back and forth with Dallin, just a little bit, just to kind of get his story, and then we'll open it up for as much Q&A as we can handle. So as you guys know, I always have a million questions, but I'd rather if you guys have questions, here you go. Here's access to a great up and coming speaker that you can lean into, and then if you guys want, we'll say goodbye to Dallin at the top of the hour, and then we can hang on for another 15 minutes or so and just kind of talk about what we learned, or if we have any follow-up questions as a group or whatever, we can do that. So, officially, I guess, Dallin, welcome to ASC.
Hello.
He's where we've challenged Dallin to only do one word answers today. So it's gonna be a little like pulling teeth here, but no, he's a fantastic dude. I met him, I think, a couple years ago at Influence. We just kind of, marginally stayed in contact a little bit, but I've been tracking his career, and he's one of those folks that just seems to be on this great trajectory. And I know for our speakers, some of us are a little more established, some of us are just starting, some of us are just sort of investigating, some of us are, just kind of in different places. So I thought he'd be a great resource to kind of figure out what's he doing, how's he getting there. So Dale, maybe just start off just a little bit, who are you? What do you do? Maybe even outside of speaking, who are you? And then let's talk a little bit about how you started this journey and where you're at today.
Yeah, I'm still relatively new to the journey here. Like Steve said, he met me a couple years ago. Like that was it. Like that was the beginning. So I am still fairly young. I live in the middle of Wyoming, which is not exactly a hotbed of speaking activity. And people aren't like, yeah, Central Wyoming, the big conference metropolis that it is. Though I mean, I've done a lot of work in Wyoming because they're looking for someone local, as Melody was talking about. Lower budget, it's 5 minutes from my house. Cool, we can do that. But I have wanted to be a speaker for a really long time. I think ever since I saw people come to my school in high school and tell you not to bully or do drugs, and I was like, they're getting paid for this. And that was a cool moment, just thinking like I could do that. I was involved in speaking activities. I did speech and debate. I was in FFA and did the speaking events there, theater. Like I'm a performer in my soul. And so that idea of the fact that like there are people that get paid to speak is it was really exciting. I went to college and a lot of those opportunities fall away. There's not a clear path for being a speaker there. So I got degrees in business, entrepreneurship, marketing, a minor in Chinese just for fun. And
just for fun.
which is a whole nother story. Yeah. But along the way, I entered an entrepreneurship competition. I was doing digital marketing out of my little college basement apartment. And I entered this entrepreneurship competition, and they had a pitch night. And you had to pitch your idea. The top 10 people got to, and I got in there. And I did it. It was the first time being on like a big stage in front of intimidating people in a very long time. And it was this moment where it was like, this is your calling, Dallin. Like, this is what you were put on earth to do. This is home. And not long after that, I got married. Me and my wife were saying, like, let's talk about some goals for our future, the life we want to build together. We each wrote a goal on a note card that we wanted to be like our focus. And I wrote, I don't remember if it was get a speaking gig or get a paid speaking gig, but it's like the goal is to have someone invite me to speak. Like it wasn't even get paid at first, just have someone invite me for free. And it took 6 years from when I wrote that little note card to actually do something, partially because I was like 22, 23 years old in college, and I didn't have any idea like what was I offering? What was the solution? Did I have any experience? And obviously like there are young speakers out there that are successful because Sam Dema exists and he just got his CSP at like 22 or 23 or something. But also Sam mostly speaks to high schoolers, maybe exclusively speaks to high schoolers, which is when being young is helpful. Being 25 and being like, hey, CEOs, hire me, uh, is met with some suspicion, to be sure. And, I just didn't know what to do there. And so I kicked around for years. Maybe I changed my LinkedIn headline to say, oh, and I speak.
Did you have a working at a regular job at the time, or were you just trying to make this work, or what
So,
else was happening?
So we did the marketing agency I was running in college. My wife came on board. We ran that for a while after we graduated. Eventually, we sold it to a larger media company in central Wyoming. So, like when I say larger, I'm here meaning instead of 2 people, it's like 16 people.
Yeah.
But we kind of did a merger there where instead of the big entrepreneur payday, we got um, like ownership stakes in the larger company, and nice salaries in exchange for merging the companies. And we're still on the board of directors there, which is cool. It makes me feel fancy to be like, I'm on a board of directors. But it's not a huge operation. And so I worked there as the director of digital marketing for a couple years. I started a dog chew manufacturing company along the way, which is a whole nother story also. That ended up becoming part of a keynote eventually because I was running that business. I still had a day job. We had a 2-year-old, we had a newborn, and we had a fixer-upper. Like it was just too much. Got super burned out. Almost died. It was great. So entrepreneurship is very much just like part of who I am. It's part of how I was raised, and
So how did
I
this
don't.
ultimately get to a paid speaking gig then?
Yeah, well, there was a moment when I was doing the everything because while I was also running the dog chew company and doing all of that, I thought I'm gonna write a book
Of course you were.
because
Yeah.
once you write a book, then people hire you to speak, right?
Overnight,
Nope.
your calendar's
Yeah.
booked. Yeah.
I was so sure, just like every new speaker, I was like, if I write a book, then people will hire me.
Yeah.
And so I wrote a book and it's not great. I mean, it's fine. Uh, People read it and they say Like that was a good book. I had some good thoughts and I learned some things, but nobody is out there being like, wow, this book changed my life.
Right,
It's like, oh,
right.
that was okay.
So how
So
long ago was that? When did the book
that was so the summer of 2022. So
okay.
2022
Yep.
is when the book came out. It's when my giant burnout crash out happened. It's when everything came to a head. I And when I say like burnout crash out, I'm saying I had a fever of 103 degrees for 2 months
Oh.
solid. Like, I mean, like it was really, it was
Mhm.
this moment of like, this is not sustainable. Something
Right.
has to give. And I sat down with my wife and we talked to our parents, we talked to different people we trusted. And it was like, I could go all in on this dog chew business and like it could be $1 million business. But it would mean I need to give up trying to do everything. I need to put the speaking dream on hold, which has been my childhood dream since forever. And I need to pick a thing because I can't keep doing all of it. And one of these things is going to be lucrative. Like at that point, I knew I was sitting on a gold mine with this dog chew business I had started. And I could quit my job and give up on the speaking thing for a bit and go make dog chews and make a lot of money, which is helpful for being a speaker.
Turns
Large
out,
sums
yeah.
of money are
Right.
useful for a lot of stuff, but I didn't think that would make me happy.
Yeah.
So instead, I pretty much gave away the dog shoe business. I sold it for,
Yeah.
you know, almost nothing. I basically signed a contract with a family friend who was our only employee at the time to take it away, do something with it, and we'd settle up in 18 months. And
Yep.
if it was making all the money, he'd pay us something. And like, that's not a good way to sell a business. It's not a
Right.
good
But it got
contract.
you
It was
going
like
to the
one
speaking
sheet.
side. Yep.
Yep. It made me commit to a direction. And more importantly, the fever went away 2 days later.
Yeah.
Right. So like
Yeah.
I was able to think again and to function again. And at that point, it was like, okay, now I've sacrificed something. I have given up an opportunity, and it was a good opportunity because I think
Yeah.
that dog chew company is doing like 50,000 a month in revenue now,
Yeah.
which I'm not. Like I'm
Right.
doing pretty good speaking, but I'm not doing 50 grand a
Well,
month.
let's talk about the speed. Let's talk about how you got into the speaking then. So you kind of had the direction, you decided to go into speaking. How did
Yep.
that actually get started then?
I think the first step for me was going to Influence, which is probably where we met. I went to Influence in 2023 and just realized like there is a world of people doing this. I met mentors, I had people to turn to, and I think what changed for me in that moment is I had skin in the game. I had paid a bunch of money to fly to Orlando, and I'd put like $5,000 of my family's hard-earned money into this dream of mine, and I'd given up another lucrative opportunity. I was like, okay, I need to make this work now. So instead of just kicking around at it, I got serious. I mean, people told me the things people say. It's like, figure out the problem you solve, get a decent video, get some good pictures. And while I had a website, I had some pictures before. It was like, no, really, drill down, find a marketable problem to solve, be able to explain it in a sentence, find a way to get video, find someone to do it for free, stage something, like anything to get started, and then just go start selling. And so I did. And for a few months, that didn't do a lot. Eventually, we sold our house. We moved across the state, quit my job pretty much, said, hey, we're gambling big, putting it all on speaking. I had nothing on the calendar. And desperation is a great motivator. Like, I don't recommend this as the way to do it because, like, things were very tight
Yeah.
that first
Yeah.
6 months. We
Yeah.
did get money from the dog chew company, they sent us like $20,000 in exchange
Mhm.
for having given them this company, which is not a ton, but it's got us through several months where I
Yeah.
made $0 as a speaker. And I just sold and sold and sold and said yes to everything.
So when you said you sold and sold and sold, let me just kind of interject. When you say sold and sold, so what were you doing? Were you going to places physically? Were you calls for speakers, emailing, calling? Tell us a little bit about how you started selling.
Yes, all of the above.
Yeah.
So, I mean, the low-hanging fruit is where I started, and I think it's where a lot of people start. I thought, okay, what do I have a connection to?
Hmm.
And that I could get into. I actually emailed a couple old clients, marketing clients. I did like a $500 sales kickoff for one of my old marketing clients that's a
Yeah.
landscaper. And it was bad. I did so bad looking back. It was like that was not good. But it let me learn some
Yeah.
things, and it,
Hmm.
it said, hey, like it's money, it's something. I reached out to like FFAs and 4-H's because I have an ag background. I was in those organizations. I
Yeah.
am still fairly young, but I was even younger then, like still in your 20s. You can connect with the kids. So it's like that's an opportunity. I reached out to all the Wyoming places because a lot of them have very low budgets. It's hard to bring in people from
Hmm.
outside. And nobody, like Wyoming is so not used to having someone who's like, hey, I'm here
Right.
and I get Wyoming. Like there's no professional speakers in
Right.
Wyoming. There's a couple, but
So
not many of us.
you spoke a ton for free, a ton for cheap, just kind of whoever would give you a platform to start to work your craft a little bit. And that was in 2023 about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, well, no, I did a couple free ones at the end of 2023, but
Okay.
2024 is like, so I officially quit having a job January, like it went part-time January 2024. By March of 2024, I was unemployed and had one event on the calendar. So like when I say I'm new to this, I mean 18 months.
But let's talk a little bit about your trajectory though, because I mean, you're well respected. I know you've got a lot of great momentum and that sort of thing too. And so tell us a little bit about how did you get this momentum? I mean, you can share what you want as far as where you're at with number of
Oh,
events and fees, but it's more just like we're interested in like you've been pushing the flywheel, you push the flywheel. Yeah, you're pretty young, but somehow you've been able to get the flywheel spinning, right? And forgive me if
yeah.
you hear a vacuum in the background. I've got somebody working in the house and I just drove 7 hours home from Iowa, so I'm like all disheveled. So just forgive me with all of it.
Oh,
But anyway, so Dallin, yeah, tell us about so what do you think? How did you get the momentum going?
I wish I knew the answer
You
to
could
that
sell it to all
question
of us
better.
if you figured it
Yeah,
out.
no, I would have the best training program out there. And if you want, I will share numbers because I'm an open book and I have
We would
no
love it, but
shame or
just a
anything. Is
reminder,
that useful?
yeah, it's super useful. Just a reminder, it's being recorded, but it'll only be to the people that are part of our group.
Oh,
But just to make sure that you're aware of that. But yeah, we love working with tangible numbers. Otherwise,
I'm I'm gonna record a video and put it on YouTube of just like my year in review to the whole world. So like I don't
perfect.
care.
Yeah, so tell us on
So
where you're at and how yeah.
so last year, 2024, when I quit my job and had nothing, I think by the end of the year, I had done about $60,000 in speaking revenue,
Great first year.
which,
Yeah.
yeah, and once you factor in expenses, like that's not a great living. You're
But
talking 30, $40,000 maybe, but I live in Wyoming
yep.
where cost of living is low and we were able to squeeze by, but like it was tight.
Right, but
Like
you're
we
building from
were,
scratch. Yeah.
yeah,
Yep.
we were on WIC to
Yep.
feed the kids for a
Yeah.
bit and like it was scary.
Yeah.
And I've done some events for DHS and have been like, hey, thanks guys, because
Yeah.
we've needed you.
Yeah.
And I was not turning my nose up at anything. Like if
Yep.
it feasibly made sense, and and people talk a lot about like fee integrity,
Yeah.
and I have none of it, zero at all.
I think most speakers that is accurate, but
Yeah.
most will
So
tell you they do. Yeah.
last fall, I mean, I had some moments that, and some of it was like I got a couple crappy spring gigs that didn't pay very well, and then they led to fall
Yeah.
referrals, right?
Yep.
Where it's like events lead to events. Some of it was just like doing stuff.
Yeah.
When I talk to any entrepreneurship people, because I still like I'll guest lecture now and then, I always tell them that like the spirit of entrepreneurship is just doing stuff.
Mhm.
So I did a podcast with a local podcast guy in Wyoming who, gets a couple hundred listens maybe, but it's like, hey, it's something. And then a reporter at a local media place in Wyoming heard the podcast And then he was like, that's an interesting story. It's about my experience going to China from Wyoming, part of my
Yeah.
keynote. And then he wrote an article in this news website. It's local to Wyoming about the podcast and interviewed me. And then the director of the Rural Electric Association read the thing. And then
Yep.
he went to my website and he filled out my form and I did an event with them. And then someone at the North Dakota Rural Electric saw me at that event and then hired me to go. And it's like,
That's how it works.
at no
Yeah.
point did I think, yeah, I'm gonna interview with this random like dude in his basement on a podcast, and it's
Yep.
gonna lead to $15,000 in speaking revenue and a bunch of great testimonials and high quality video and photos. But like, so like that wasn't predictable. That's not replicable, except for just like do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And you never know which of the stuff is gonna be the hit. One of my favorite quotes is actually from my parents because they were entrepreneurs. Growing up, I think they started and either closed or sold 14 or 15 different businesses throughout my childhood. And people would always say, man, everything you guys touch turns to gold. And my mom would always laugh and say, no, we just touch a lot of stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Because 13 of those businesses either failed or broke even. Like they made nothing, they wasted years of their life, they were total flops, but 2 of them went really well. And everyone remembers the 2 that went really well. They made a lot of money. You know, as I was like later teenager, suddenly we went from like lower middle class to like mom and dad are doing pretty good, I guess. And they like retired early after I left home. And I was like, something happened here. And the answer is they sold one of the businesses that was doing really well.
Yeah.
But they had so many failures leading up to that point. Nobody remembers those.
And I think that's true of most speakers' journeys too. Like I think even the big name speakers, you kind of go back and like they're grinding, they're doing the stuff like you. They're
Yep.
like all of these things. So fast forward now to this year. How was this year compared to last year?
Insane. So there
Yeah.
were some big break moments last year that helped a lot. Again, not replicable. Sometime last fall, Meta reached out
Yeah.
and was like, hey, come do an event for Meta. It was 20 people, 20 construction managers in rural Idaho. Like this was not a prestigious sounding event, but guess what? Their emails all end with at meta.com.
Yeah.
And
And you can use the
so
logo. Yeah.
I can use the logo. I have testimonials. I have quotes from them. Someone said this was the best part of the event and made the trip worth it. And dang it, I have milked that.
Yeah, you bet.
I mean, I have squeezed that for all it was worth.
Yeah.
They found me, I mean, maybe on like e-speakers, which I
Mhm.
have never gotten any other gig from. But like that's just like sometimes it's just luck. Things show up. This year has been crazy. I have 3 events next week, which will close out my in-person events. And if my math, I guess I can get the actual numbers. I've been posting my year in review on LinkedIn lately. So I know I'm at 47. It'll be 48 events because I'm doing a little virtual one that just got added. But 48 events, 45 of those in person, and it'll come out to about $217,000 in revenue.
Yeah. I mean, that's amazing, right? That's from
Oh,
0 to 60 to 220 or whatever. Yeah.
yeah.
Yep.
But to the point, this time last year, roughly, I mean, it was roughly a year ago that I was almost starving to death. I did the Meta event, and like the day before it, I did a regional youth DECA event that paid me like
Yeah,
$700.
you bet. Yeah. Yeah.
And then I did the big Meta one where I charged them a lot of money, more than I ever had before. And I realized in hindsight they would have paid me way more because money means nothing to them.
Right.
And then someone in like a student thing in Chicago was like, hey, we've got $2,000 for everything, including travel.
Hmm.
And I'm like, cool, done.
Yep.
Because even after travel, like maybe that puts $1,000 in my pocket and that buys a lot of groceries.
You bet it does.
You know,
Yep.
like there was no time to start really being picky. Now I'm starting to get a little picky.
Yeah.
but
You've got young kids, and
I still
it's not
say
always
yes
easy
to
to
a
travel
lot.
from central Wyoming and all of those things too.
Oh,
And well,
no,
let's
I mean,
or go ahead,
I'm
go
on
ahead.
the well, I'm on the road a lot, but I I don't attribute my success this year exclusively to like referrals and things like
Mhm.
that. So we were talking earlier, Steve, about bureaus. I have done zero bureau events.
Yeah,
I I did one with a bureau, but I brought the event. Like they
yep,
didn't give it
yep,
to me, I gave it to them to try to build a relationship.
yep. That does work. Yeah.
And yeah, they've got me one for next year now
Oh, good,
because
good.
like
Yeah,
they know I'm good for it.
right.
But I get referrals, I get spin-off, and that's great. But
Mhm.
like what it comes down to is I've just sold a lot. I send 5 to 10 emails a day. And not as much anymore on weekends because I'm trying to prioritize time and stuff better. But that is like every day. When I get done with an event and I'm on the road and I've been networking and there's the happy hours and the whatever, and I get back to my hotel room and it's 11 p.m., I sit down and I send emails. And when I'm at Influence and we have an hour-long break between the things and I'm exhausted and there's friends, I go to my hotel room and I sit down and I send emails because like I can't not send emails. Like I have to keep following up. I have to keep reaching out because if the pipeline gets empty, then sometime there's going to stop being events.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, you're a grinder. I mean, I think like you said,
That's
when you're hungry, you do, and that was sort of my story too. I mean, if I have to make this work and that sort of thing too. So I love that for sure, man. It's awesome. And I know I've got a million questions as we kind of peel back the onion a little bit. Now we got about a half hour to kind of all right. Let's dig in and get some secrets here. But I'll open it up to questions from the group if anybody has any. Anybody have any questions? Otherwise, you know me, I'll just keep grinding. Melody.
Yeah. Well, first of all, hoot, 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 hoot for North Dakota REC. Go team.
oh,
I'm a North Dakota farm girl. So yeah, I resonate with the out in the middle of nowhere.
I spend a lot
So,
of time in Bismarck. That's for
oh
sure.
yeah, rocking with that huge Capitol building. Um, so how are you finding the space? Are you, in terms of the gigs you're taking, are you kind of, is there a target pattern of who you want to approach? Or are you, like you said, you kind of started with the areas you knew, the FFA, those kinds of things? What are you finding in terms now of, are you still sort of targeting a specific market or just generally kind of what are you going after?
So it depends on how I'm finding them.
Mm-hmm.
So like if it's just me sitting down and saying, "Hey, I need to find people," at this point, I've hit most of the things that come to mind first. But even then, a lot of them never answered, and I need to start going back and being like, I haven't reached out to those people in 2 years. And my materials have improved, my testimonials have improved, my videos improved. Like, let's give this another shot. Because while pure hustle is great, I did pure hustle some before, but I did it with really crappy marketing and like a bad pitch. And increasing your response rate by 1% is huge. And so if changing up your media or your value proposition or whatever improves your response rate by 1%, like suddenly that's a massive marginal thing. So like quick aside, working in the business on like let's make what I'm sending out to people better, getting a better one sheet, a better video, like not to be underestimated because that's a big element. But um first, I go to places where I feel like I have a competitive advantage. A third of my events, not in revenue, but in number, took place in Wyoming, North Dakota, and South Dakota this year. Once again, not where most people are hitting. Like those are overlooked markets. That's not where people are like, yeah, they've got the big money. Like people are looking at Orlando, they're looking at Vegas, they're looking at Chicago and New York. And like I'm not big in LA. Like, despite the many, many people in California, I have done one event there ever. And despite the very few people in Wyoming and the Dakotas, I did what, like 17 events there this year? And many of them have significant budgets and pay well. So I do start in areas where I feel like I have a competitive advantage. And for me, that is agriculture and anything like rural-ish related. Construction and the skilled trades are areas that I do very well, just as like a bearded dude with
With the cowboy
a
hat.
blue.
Yep.
Yeah, that's I've had to de-hat myself. Originally, I always wore a hat,
Yeah.
but it pigeonholed me too much. So
Yep.
that was a big change this year I did that I think has helped a lot, is that I can be like rural without getting put in the box of like that cowboy guy.
Hmm. Mm-hmm.
And that is up. Plus flying with a cowboy hat sucks. And I made that decision when I had 0 events, and after spending several days on an airplane with the cowboy hat, I was like, this has got to stop. Like, it's not gonna work for me. Um, so like I start there, and then associations are obviously like easier to reach out to because you can see that they have events. And I end up getting stuck in rabbit holes with them, which is a good thing. So I'll get hired by one association, and then I will go find every other one, and I can then reach out and say, I just worked with the Wyoming version of that, often starting with Wyoming because nobody is pitching the Wyoming associations because they're tiny and podunk and like they don't look super appealing. So, I did the Wyoming School Board Association,
Mm-hmm.
and then I just last month I did the Idaho School Board Association. So, like, guess who I'm emailing? All the school board associations, because while I did reach out to them before, now I have credibility of like, look at my 18 testimonials from school board association
Yeah.
staff. And like that's why I got Idaho. They specifically said it's like we love seeing someone who has worked with other rural school board associations. And it's like, well, what do you know? Like I fit the bill. And like there's 50 of them. And every time I get an association event, it's like, well, there's probably at least 30 of these, even if every state doesn't have one. And then a lot of times there will be like a vendor or a sponsor there that is adjacent and part of some other association. It's like, well, there's 50 more things I can add to my list. And like people underestimate the vendors. Like I go talk to all the vendors.
Mm-hmm.
And I just closed a $10,000 event with a vendor from a conference I did that paid me less. Like the vendor's paying me more than the original conference did. And I think that the in-person element I find very successful. I'm getting so far off your question. I should come back
No,
and
this is
center and
good.
say, how do
Yeah.
I find the things? But so I start with people that I have a competitive advantage with.
Yeah.
Then I follow the rabbit hole from there, where it's like, then if they reference a different association or if something comes up, I'm like, ooh, what about those? And then I just like keep adding to my list as I go. And sometimes I have to, check and see like, is their event happening next week? Like I don't want to email them right now. I need to set a reminder to give it a couple months and different things like that. But that system helps. So just as an example, I emailed an association this week that got back very quickly and said, hey, we're booked for 2026. We'll start looking for speakers for 2027 in July. Mm-hmm. I said, great. I'll send you a proposal then. I'm not going to remember in July. So I go into my system and I set a reminder, reach out to so-and-so in July. And I'll have some day in July where that'll pop up and it'll be a happy accident. And I'll be like, well, great. Thanks, past me, for setting that up. So like that cascade usually keeps me busy for a while. And if by some chance I just get like full like brain dead. I cannot think of anyone else to reach out to. I have reached out to every affiliated association to someone I have talked to recently. I've followed up with all my warm leads, like, and I'm really, really stuck. Sometimes I'll just look around a room and be like, what things are in here?
Mhm.
Like once I literally just go like doorknob association.
Yeah. Right.
And there
Right.
isn't one, but it turns out there's a
There's
hardware and
doors. Yeah. Yeah.
connections
You
association.
bet.
I keynoted the Stair Builders Association this
Yeah.
year. Like there are so many
Yeah.
things.
Yep.
And so sometimes I just look around or I like I open a dictionary, look for a noun, and then see if there's an association for it. Like that's not a smart strategy, but
But
that's what I
but you're feel like you've grown your business based on activity, and so that's a
yeah.
activity prompt. If you when you're out of other prompts, you're let's go forward, and so you're looking for anything to kind of give you that direction forward.
And the benefit of that is that those are usually industries that are getting way less cold emails from speakers,
Absolutely. Yep.
right? Like the school board associations are getting 5 emails a day. Like the really obvious, the hospital associations,
Hmm.
the dentists associations, the realtor associations, they are getting so many emails from speakers every single day. The Stair Builders Association is getting a lot less. Like they don't have a huge budget, but you know what? Like less it's easier to stand out because nobody knows. I'm
Right.
saying now I'm going to do this and my friends at the Stair Builders Association is going to get 800
We're all
emails, but
gonna yeah, we're gonna get like 25 stair builders.
sorry.
Melody,
Sorry, Tara.
Melody, is that getting where you want to go, or do
That's
you have a
that's great. That's great information. It just makes me realize I have to be a little more diligent about the outreach, but the association idea, I love that, and I have a few that are percolating in my head. I think about associations of special educators and school social workers, things like that might
Well,
be a
because
good fit
yeah, I mean,
too.
you have your niche, everybody has their niche. And I think
Yep.
one of the things that was buried in what Dallin said too is that, once you do an event, that is such a great thing to, okay, who are the other chapters? Who are the other states? What's the
Right.
national
Right.
association? So you can leverage that and say, hey, I worked with, Jim Nelson at this event, reach out to him if you have any questions. And I think that's that. And then the
Right.
adjacents of that. So if that's kind of your jam is doing the outreach, I think that's a great, more effective way to do it.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so too. It gives you a target idea for sure.
Yeah.
And I don't like, I am happy to talk about other things that
Yeah.
aren't that. But when I think about what has led me to kind of meteoric growth,
Hmm.
like I'm good on stage for sure. But like that's the floor. Like you have to be good on
At the
stage.
barrier, yeah, that's
Right.
the base, yeah, the entry point.
And
Yeah.
the only thing I can think of is like what made me go from nothing to 60 to 218 in that short of a time is and the wording my wife and I use is like we just roll the dice more.
Hmm. Yeah.
Like
It's a numbers game, isn't it?
most
Yeah.
most of the people never answer the email. So I just need to roll the dice more. And I feel like as far as things that I do that other speakers as new as me don't do, is like I simply give myself more chances to be
Mhm.
lucky.
Hmm. You're putting yourself in a position where things can happen. Would
Yeah.
you say, I mean, because obviously, I mean, so there's a minimum to, you have to be good on stage, at a basic level, but then there's, the better and better that you are, the more you get spin-off and referrals and, the vendors sneak in and watch you and then hire you for an event and that sort of thing too. So how would you, I mean, if you look at like the 50 events that you did this year, how many, and I know you don't do the bureaus, so like how many of those do you think are a result roughly, like what percentage is a result of cold outreach? What percentage is a result of somebody heard you, somebody referred you, somebody recommended you?
Oh, let's look. I can probably give you a
I don't mean to make you data
decent
mine, but
guess there. No, and it's gonna be a rough guess. I'm not gonna do
yeah,
like
just
all the
just
math
ballpark.
right now,
Yeah.
but I'm gonna say like not exact referral, but like oh maybe someone said or because I did something similar.
Yeah, where it wasn't like just a
Definitely one,
cold outreach that
two,
you did.
yeah, three, maybe four there, five, six, seven, eight. 9, 10. I mean, we're talking already, like, I'm not even all the way through. I'm guessing at least a quarter.
Yeah, that were spin-offs. So still three-quarters of them are just the outreach that you're doing, the grinding that you're doing.
Yeah, and a lot of my next year
Yep.
is, and maybe not a lot, but much of it is more spin. A
It'll move
lot
more
of
and
the
more there.
cold
Yeah.
ones come like they're weird surprise. Like corporate is really hard.
Yeah.
It's really hard to make corporate events happen because there's no like publicly available thing. Associations, they have an
Yeah. And they have
event,
a lot
whereas
of
corporate
internal
ones,
experts and yeah.
yeah, like they just
Well,
happen or they're spin-off or you get a referral or you get a warm lead from some directory out there. Like
mhm.
I count corporate ones all as just like a magical gift
They kind of are.
or
For me, they are too, because I think, the corporate stuff I've gotten have come from doing association events. And then, of course, at
yeah.
associations, there's representatives of the companies that are there. And if you say the right thing to the right people, then they go like, oh, hey, we've got an internal event. But yeah, you never would know about it.
Well,
The
and
reason I'm
corporate has
asking
very
about,
little spin.
what's that?
So corporate has very little
Yeah.
spin. So like I've done quite a few corporate and nonprofit, maybe like four. I have a chart. Let's find out. Uh, so about 30% of my events. Well, and then with you, so associations were only 42% of my events this year. So a little under half.
Hmm.
Associations are really where most of the spin comes from.
Right.
So like only half the events really had great spin potential.
Yeah.
Some of the corporate ones, like they might repeat later,
Yeah. That's
where it's
more
like,
what you're
oh,
getting. Not so much spin, but you're going to get invited back to some of those.
yeah,
Yeah.
where it's like, oh, we did safety day. And then the guy I worked with got transferred to another
Yeah.
area. And it's like, hey, can I do safety day for that area in
Yeah.
2026? But like, that's
Yeah.
not super reliable. So,
Well, the reason I ask, I want to make sure I get other questions, but the reason I asked that is I had one specific question about how do you sort of balance the outreach that you do, the marketing that you do, and then working on your actual craft, your actual, your stage presence, your content, the delivery, some of that. Because I think we can, kind of focus too much on one or the other. How do you sort of view that, or how do you kind of balance the business and the craft of what you do?
poorly. I balance it poorly.
About 80% this and about 80% that, is that?
I need to spend more time probably working on craft
Why do you say you need to? Why do you say you need to?
because I don't
What does
right
that mean?
now.
You need to, or do you feel like you need to, or is that just what you're supposed to? Like, you know what I mean? Like, do you feel like, no,
So
I deliver great on stage, or do you actually feel that?
I am very good on stage, but to get to the level I
Mm,
want to be, I will need to get better.
mhm.
So early on when I had mentors asking me, uh, the one I think of is Joe Mole, who was thinking about giving me a really, really small scale referral, which ended up being one of my first paid events.
Sweet.
And he said, he's like, if I'm gonna trust you with this, like I haven't seen you on stage. How good are you?
Hmm.
And I was like, I have a lot of talent that needs polishing.
Hmm.
And I have done enough reps now, but like I can say that I am naturally gifted as a performer. And throughout my life I have honed that. I am currently coasting on that,
Hmm.
where I am performing not that differently than I did this time last year. Like I have probably improved some.
Just from reps. Yeah.
Yeah, just from reps and like
Yeah.
I tweak stuff.
Yeah.
I say a joke in improv and then I'm like, "Ooh, wow, that joke really landed. Let's make that part of the thing."
Yeah.
Or a Q&A brings up a topic that's so good that I'm like, that's like that needs to be in the core keynote. So like it's still changed, but I'm not spending a lot of time really sitting down and saying like, "Okay, am I creating the experience I want?"
Hmm.
I look at Diana Candor,
Yeah.
if you're familiar with
Yeah, I saw
Diana.
her at Influence last year. If you guys haven't seen her, I would definitely recommend following her, looking up her video. She is
She's
always working on
incredible.
it, and she's fantastic. Yep.
Well, and she works on every little piece, right?
Yep.
Like Diana will hire a coach to help her walk better on stage. She will hire a coach to help her breathe better on stage. She will hire someone for posture and for comedic timing and for body language. And it's like Diana is honing a craft. And when you watch Diana,
It shows.
yeah, there's no moment where you're like, that's the thing that makes Diana great. It's just like every single piece is incredible.
No.
And like right now I'm doing the gifted kid thing where it's like the kid who was in a small school and was the smartest one in school, so they coasted and then they get to college and they never actually learned
Right.
it and they're like, "Oh crap, just being kind of smart isn't good enough here." Like I am talented enough to be really good at the level of speaker I am at right now. But I believe that if I am going to get to the next level, and like I've been very satisfied with the fees and things like that because I'm early. But
Yep.
like I want to do bigger events and bigger stages and bigger things. And when I start looking at my craft, I sometimes wonder, but like, can I deliver on those stages? And maybe the answer is yes, but I don't know. And I'm
Yeah.
not putting in a lot of hours on really honing my speech and my performance. And I'm kind of just like coasting on that because sales pays bills.
Right.
And
Yep.
so it's hard for me to take time away to rehearse something I've said 8,000 times when it's like that could be 5 more emails.
Right.
And any of those 5 emails could turn into $5,000 to $10,000.
Right.
And so I
But if honing
struggle.
on your craft get to an extra average of $1,500 an event, that's another 70 grand without, I mean, that's the
Yeah,
rub, right?
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Of
But it's very hard to see that,
course. Yeah.
right? When I
Yeah.
send the
Sales is
email and the
tangible. Yeah.
yes,
Yeah.
and it gives me dopamine and it
Yep.
feels good.
It does. Oh my gosh, when you
And
get that yes email or whatever, it's like
yeah,
I don't care if it's $200. I'm like, yeah, let's go. Yeah. So
and so I struggle to balance that, and I'm
yeah.
trying to figure that out right now. It's a big 2026 goal
Yeah.
because I'm very skewed towards sales right now.
Well, thanks for sharing that. Other questions? Melody, Sherry, Bonnie, you guys have any other questions? Well, I'll ask you about kind of I guess I'll say the power of connection. Obviously, we have a group of speakers here, and I've been intentional about building relationships with other speakers, one-on-one, group settings, but also with event planners, with bureaus. Talk a little bit about, I guess, the power of connection and that's helped you over the last couple of years, and maybe it hasn't. I don't know. You're in the middle of Wyoming, who knows? But how have you? Are there certain people that you connected with, or certain groups that you connect with, or how do you get what you need from other people, I guess, as you're trying to grow the business?
Yeah, it is challenging being in Wyoming. Like, there's no local anything for me to be part of.
Yeah.
Um, there's no like local NSA chapter really that makes sense. And this business already can be very lonely and
Mhm.
isolating and extra when you're in the middle of nowhere. Like I
Right,
don't just like
right.
bump into buddies very often. So I have just made a handful of friends. I'm a very aggressive networker. So when
That
I
sounds scary. I'm a very aggressive network. Yeah.
and as well it should be. Like I and I do this at events too, and I feel like it's been very beneficial for me. Like if I'm walking in a ballroom full of people waiting for me to speak, like I go and I find an empty seat at a table and I sit there and I say, "Hi, I'm here for 5 minutes. Let's be friends." And then we talk and then I leave and I go do it to 6 more tables.
Hmm.
Like and
Is
like
that
if there
just,
are
sorry,
people,
I'm interrupting you, but is that just
yeah,
because
go for it.
that's who you are, or is that actually a strategic approach?
Uh, both of those things. So one, it is who I am. Two, it helps me know the audience. There have been times that I have done that and I have learned things that made me change my keynote on the fly.
Hmm.
Once even so extremely that I went to the event planners 30 minutes before the keynote and said, "Hey, we need to do an entirely different topic." And we
Sweet.
loaded new slides 15
Love
minutes
it. Love
before
it.
and like and it was great. It worked out phenomenally, but like the things I was hearing in the room, it's like we're solving the wrong problem here.
Yep. Yep.
So partially that, partially it's just because I like meeting them. And some of it is that then when I am speaking, I am not speaking to a sea of strangers.
Yep.
I am speaking to a room of friends as much as possible. I can call out people by name. I can reference a joke I just heard. I get to hear their lingo, like, and it makes it so much more. But like, I just love doing that. I love my job because I love meeting people. I have no desire to fly into a place, say my thing, get my check, and leave.
Hmm.
Like, I want to be there. So part of it's like that's part of it. So when I say aggressive networker, like, and I have before we're done, I do want to touch on that because I think it's important. But when it comes to like professional associations, that first influence 2 years ago was the big one where I walked away with phone numbers
Yeah.
and people will say like, "Hey, let me know if you have questions, reach out, happy to help." I don't know how much other people do that.
I
I
do.
did.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's,
I'm
and I
always
try
like, be
not to
careful what
be,
you say, because I'm going to. Yeah.
and like I tried to calibrate it where it's
Yeah.
like, what level of question is this? Like, I'm not texting Clint Pulver for every question I have
Right.
because while he would answer them, he's a busy guy and he brings a level of answer that I'm often not ready for.
Yep.
And so I would try to identify people who are like a little bit ahead of me or this amount ahead of me, like where are they at? And then ask them questions calibrated to where they are at. And I don't know if that's the right thing, but so I've got probably 5 or 6 people that I fairly reliably reach out to about like, okay, this is a this person question.
Yep.
And I
That
don't
are
know why I've
speakers.
sorted them. Yeah,
Those
that
are all
way in my
speakers.
head.
Yep. Hmm.
Yeah.
Well, let's.
Yep.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
And that's really most of my professional network. Like that's most of what I've got. And I just try to use them because I don't have a ton else. I mean, I have a lot of acquaintances. I mean, I
Right.
consider me and you
Yeah. Yeah.
acquaintances. And I hope
At
that,
best. I mean, at best.
yeah, but like we see each other's stuff on LinkedIn and we'd be like,
I'm
if
kidding.
you texted me and said, "Hey, I'm in Casper, Wyoming," I'd be like, "Come to dinner."
Absolutely. Yeah. Yeah.
But I'm also not like so deeply and intimately familiar with your business that you could
Right.
just like text me out of the blue and I'd be like, "I got you, Steve. I
Right.
know all this
Exactly.
stuff."
Exactly.
So like I have a wide
Yeah.
pool of
But
acquaintances,
you got
but
those
just a few.
half a dozen speakers that
Yeah.
are like, okay, I know these are my go-to people. So you've kind of got that system built in
Yeah.
that way. Yeah. Any other questions? Sherry.
I have a question now that I'm not driving. Um, Dallin, I really appreciate all your transparency around all this. So, okay, talking about fee integrity, I have some challenges with that. And then I feel like I don't know where to go when I'm having a conversation about fees. Like, I don't know, I'll do it for 200 or 2000. What do you got? So given you are so far from having fee integrity, I'd love to know how you, and obviously it depends on the situation. I'm not always that crazy about it, but how do you have those conversations when you don't actually have a structure around that when it comes to associations versus the stair builders or whoever?
Yeah.
How do you do that?
So I do have a structure, which is what helps, which is that
Okay.
I have a fee. This is my fee, and it's gone up really aggressively as I've gotten busier. So right now, and this just changed like in the last few months, probably this summer, I started making this shift. So right now, what I tell people is that my fee is $7,500 plus travel, which often I don't get. Uh, because and take this advice with the grain of salt that it comes with, which is like this probably isn't the best way to do this. Like I'm not a sales speaker, I'm not a master negotiator, but especially with the people I work with, which is like when looking at my little breakdown, my biggest categories are youth and not necessarily in this order, but agriculture, construction and the skilled trades, youth and nonprofits. So like, Head Starts, community action agencies, like serving the people. And what those two groups have in common is that two of them, youth and nonprofits, often have low budgets. And construction and agriculture are like very, very down to earth people as a whole. And so usually I will say something like, hey, I hate the negotiation song and dance. So I'll shoot straight with you if you shoot straight with me. My normal fee, or officially my fee, is $7,500 plus travel. But if you want me at your event and you can't do that, let me know what you can do, and I'm happy to talk about it.
Ooh, I like that. Yeah.
And I've got an event next week, one of my next week events, the first one I booked, they came back and they said, all told, including travel, we can do $6,500. Like, that's our cap. I'm like, it is December, not a big speaking month. I was like, done, like, cool. And if I had a client who paid full fee, they paid 8,000 some dollars for that plus travel, and they said, well, why'd you give them the discount? I'm like, I told them the same thing I told you. The difference is you did have that money. And like I asked, like I told you, I'm a bad negotiator. If you have this, please give it to me. If you don't, make me an offer and I'll probably say yes. And I work with a group of people who are like honest and straightforward enough that most of the time they'll be like, yeah, we got that. And could I probably have gotten some more money out of other events if I were like more hardline? Maybe, but like I take them if I'm happy with them. And sometimes I do have to draw lines. I had someone call me for an event in July where I was super busy. I had a ton of events. It would make me be gone from my family and like miss a kind of family thing that wasn't the end of the world, but I do get a little flack for. And they said, we have $3,000. And I talked to my wife and I was like, I can't do it for $3,000. Not that week in July. And so I said, what do you think would be the least we'd do it for? She was like, I'd let you go for $5,000. And I emailed them back and I'd say, I'd have to have at least $5,000. And they went and they discussed and they came back and we got the board to greenlight $5,000. And so it's like, I know I leave money on the table a lot because the times when I do have to push back, several times I've pushed back and been like, I can't go that low. I need at least X. And then they come back and they say, we found X. So like, I know I'm leaving money on the table. I just don't think I care. Like, I'd rather just say, here's where I'm at. What you do with that is up to you. The people I work with often appreciate that. I'm sure if I were like a sales speaker or I was working in a lot of like really big tech, maybe that wouldn't fly as much, but
there's also part of your brand that you're relatable, you're a nice guy, people like working with you, and there's that rub. Like you could maybe leave money on the table, but part of the experience that they had with you is he's so easy to work with. We love him. He's a nice guy. He's down to earth, and so you don't know what that impacts as far as referrals and spin either, right? And I want to make sure Sherry, is that getting? I know we're almost at time. I want to make sure Sherry, is that getting? Or do you have a specific example or?
Also, if you want me to stay here longer and keep answering questions, I'm happy to.
Well, we would, I would take it, but I don't, you committed to 1 hour, so I do want to honor that. But if you're willing to stick around,
Steve, would that hurt your heart a little bit? Would you get a little anxious if we went over?
No, I actually said at the beginning, we can say like 15 minutes and chat afterwards a little bit. I'll leave it open as long as you guys want to talk. It's more of honoring because Dallin's a nice guy and I don't want to take advantage of nice people. Like if he was a jerk, I'd be like, no, yeah, we'll take advantage of this. But nice people get rolled over, so I want to make sure that you're honestly okay with it. And he volunteered.
No.
So. Yeah.
I'm okay with it. I have this problem where I like talking to people because that is who I am. And so like I'm having fun.
Good. Well, we'll do another 15 minutes or so. So Sherry, if you have a follow-up, if you want to
I do have a follow-up. Okay, thank you. I just want to
thanks, Dallin. I appreciate that.
Okay, thanks, Dallin. So do you share that price with nonprofits as well with everyone?
Yeah. And I'll tell the nonprofit, I'll say, this is my normal rate, but you're a nonprofit. And like, if you can't make that work, let me know. And I do my best to wiggle with nonprofits. Like I did an event last month or October, I don't know, in Wisconsin for a tiny rural Head Start. And I just told them, I'm like, I'm not that busy that week. You're a little Head Start working with kids. I've got little kids. Like, tell me the number you have. And it was like $2,000 some dollars, which in my life right now, especially to fly to Wisconsin, like nothing is a direct flight for me. My airport flies to one place, and that place is Denver. So like flying isn't cheap and easy for me. And so it's like I don't care. I get antsy if I'm not doing this thing I love. So going multiple weeks without an event, like I'll give the discount, and if I can couch it in a good cause, but like same thing, if someone comes and says, why did we pay so much more? And I'm like, well, because you're not a cute little Head Start program in rural Wisconsin.
Mhm.
Tough. Like, yeah, I charged GE, as in General Electric. Did I charge them $15,000? Yes. And if they said, Dallin, why did you charge us so much? And I said, because you're GE. You had me to do two events in one day. I had to customize stuff. You're on the other side of the country, and somebody needs to pay for the little rural Head Start in Wisconsin. And I learned it as the red face test. Can you look at your client and explain a thing to them without your face turning red? Like
Yeah.
that's kind of integrity. I would look at my GE client and I would tell them that, and I would feel zero shame in it. So like as long as I can justify it to my other clients, I'm allowed to give whatever discounts I want in
Right.
my mind.
It would be
And
different if you charged GE 15 and you charged Nike like 1500. That would be
yeah,
different. Yeah.
Yeah, good
but
point.
once again, if I said, "Hey, the reason I charged Nike this little is because they had like, there were these people in the room that I wanted to be at." This is a real email I sent yesterday. I'll just tell you this. This is a conference for next year. They asked about pricing. The conference is in Alaska, and I sent this email and I just said, like, when it comes to fee, there are I'm reading this verbatim. There are two very different answers for that. The official answer is that my rate is 7,500 plus travel. But you are having an event in Alaska, and my wife is obsessed with Alaska. She's written a whole book trilogy about it, which means that I'm a million times more likely to work with whatever budget you have because the event is in Alaska, the event's in early September. And I said, and my wife's birthday is September 6th. So I have some ulterior motives here.
I love
And
that so much.
she had asked about virtual options, and I was like, I do have them, but also like if the virtual option is a budgetary constraint, I will probably make them work because Alaska. And I was like, how's that for an unconventional answer? And she replied back and said, that is an unconventional answer. I'll get back in touch. I'll take this to the committee. It's like, I'm not going to hide the fact that I'll do a cheaper event to get my wife to Alaska. Like, there's other factors that make me care about this. Next week, I have 3 events. They're all getting discounts. They're all on the East Coast. I'm already over there. So it's easy to chain them together instead of having to fly back and forth. Very easy to justify working with their budgets, which are still decent, because it's like, yeah, I'll just go kick around the East Coast for a week and come home with a bunch of money.
Well,
It's a good day.
And we've interviewed a number of event planners. I've talked to a lot of them, and that sort of thing too. And everybody's different, of course, just like speakers are different. But a lot of event planners, I mean, they're just people, and they want to interact with other humans. And so your response is it's a human answer. It's not this robotic form template. And I know people have their systems, and I don't want to disparage that, but at the end of the day, you personalized it, you made it real, you're a person, and that's how you become friends with event planners, and that's why they like you. And that's why they want to tell their friends about you. And so I think you're killing two birds with one stone. You're trying to get the gig because you really want the gig, even at a lower fee, right? But you're also sharing that you're human. And I think they look at that and they say, okay, well, if he's human by email, he's going to be human when he's on site. He's going to be somebody that people are going to enjoy talking to, that sort of thing. So I think you're doing great there. Sorry, Sherry.
And
Yeah.
No,
well, and I have found that if I send an email response like that, if they have $7,500,
Yeah.
they will give it to me.
It's not their money. I mean, the thing is, it's not
Yeah.
their money. They're going to go with whatever budget they've been given. If they like you and if they have the money, they're not going to be like, oh, I'm going to shortcut this guy because it's not their money. They've been given a budget to go find the best speaker they can, in my opinion.
Sometimes they go to bat for me.
Sure.
I'll
100%.
be like, hey, I'll do whatever. And like the committee only said we have this much. but I'll see if I can find more. And then they come back and like, we found $500 to help with travel.
Yep.
And like I wheedled it out of them, and I'm like, cool. Like I
And
would have
they
done it without that, but thanks.
they've told this group before they'll do that because I mean at the end of the day the better speaker that they bring in, the more that they look good. And so if they really like you and they think you're great and you'd be perfect for the group, they are going to go to bat for you. Part of it because they like you, but part of it is if I can get this guy versus the other two options that we have, he's going to make me look really good. My boss is going to say great job and I might get promoted. Like those are the realities of some of the things that go into this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Thanks, Dallin.
What else we got? We got another 10 more minutes with Dallin. What do we think? What else is on your mind?
If you don't have a question, I do have a mini rant about the networking thing that I
Oh,
think is helpful.
you were going to mention
Yeah.
on, yeah, well, let's give people 5 more seconds to ask a question. How's that? Any other
I have
questions?
a quick question,
Hey, Tom,
Dallin.
yeah.
Yeah, and I do have a client at 3:15 or in 10 minutes. So, um, the you talked about demo video. I know I emailed Steve about this. Sherry and I talked about this earlier this week. Um, uh, uh, what Steve have is amazing right now. But just getting started out, I've got some of my own footage. It's good professional HD stuff. I'm looking to put something that's like 2 to 4 minutes together for a bureau that's asked for it. Any quick tips or tricks? They just want to, they don't want a sizzle reel. They just want to be able to see that I can talk clearly in front of people and have a message and all that. And so I probably have enough to go on, but just anything that you can share would be great.
It's so subjective. So Steve probably said similar things. The theme I've been getting from the planners I see in my life is that they are preferring less and less fluff. Like just give me the content, let me see what you're like. I don't need all the pizzazz of like, wow, transitions.
The
Here's my life
voiceover movie
story.
trailer. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like just give me content on stage. I mean, for me, it's like, are you evoking the feeling that makes them be like, ooh, wow, that made me feel something? For me, a big goal was also that I wanted to feel different, where it's like, this is not what every other demo video looks like. I don't know if I even accomplished that in my current one. And the theme that I've noticed, and this is just me, is that the second I get a new demo video, I immediately feel like it's inadequate and start wanting to work on a next better one. Like, and everyone is better than the last, and every time I'm like, that's better, but it's not good enough yet. And I want it to be cooler and better and to have better footage and a better room and better material. And I think that's the endless quest. But you could ask 100 people and get 100 different answers about what the best one is. And I'm sure that one of the reasons many people don't reply to my emails, and I know this for a fact because I have analytics on my demo video, and I sure know a bunch of people watch it and then never talk to me again. Like 3 of them yesterday did that. And but then some people watch it and they come and they say, we have to have you. So, like, I don't know. There's so many people out there who tell you science about it. People like different stuff.
Just hearing the subjective piece is helpful because and you see all these fancy polished ones out there, and I'm just not there yet. And so I just I need to put my best version out and then work on my next one that I put out a year from now.
My
Yeah.
first one was a pile of hot garbage that I did myself. So
Mine are so
put it,
terrible. But
yep.
I think, even though I do kind of a sizzle reel, it still like has content in there. But even with my reel, like they will say, well, do you have like a 10-minute clip as well? So like I put on my website both because they kind of want both. They want to see, and that really is like to Alan's point. I think that is the most critical is okay, the first one, anybody can make like if you pay enough, you can make a really fancy reel. But can you actually present on stage where it's not like 2-second sound bites that are cutouts? They want to know, can you actually, like you're saying, Tom, can you hold it together for a few minutes and actually present something? The only thing, and Dallin, maybe you can give feedback on this too for Tom, but like, would be think about there's usually at least a couple different audiences for your video when you're trying to get an event. One is the event planner, who they've been told, hey, we need to find a leadership speaker or whatever your category is. And so you want to make sure the video, whatever it is, answers that question. Okay, are you that kind of a speaker? Check. And then it'll probably go to either a committee or some other decision maker. and they're going to be more linking to, is this solving the problem that we have, or they're looking for a differentiator. So there's kind of the two audiences. So you can kind of put both hats on and say, okay, I'm going to look at this through an event planner hat. Do I check the box of the bucket I'm supposed to be in? And then do I differentiate myself, or do I solve the problem that they're probably having? That's a different lens. And so I don't know, Dallin, if you agree with that, or if you have other perspectives.
Yeah, and in those settings, I mean, a lot of times I think like, oh, if someone watched this, would they think I was good?
Hmm.
And like that's really easy. And if I'm the only person they're considering, got it. But a lot of these committees are watching 5 to 10 demo videos back to back to back and looking at 10 different one sheets. And so I think looking at it from the angle of like, if I watched this after watching 5 other ones, would it feel like, oh yeah, another one of those, and it does the thing? Or is there anything that makes people go, oh? So I very intentionally in mind, I left like 5 seconds of silence in the middle of it because I talk about silence in one of my programs. And in the keynote, I just stop and stare at the audience for like 10 seconds. And I was like, the music cuts. It shows the audience looking at each other, looking awkward. And when you're used to like all the pizzazz and like there's the music and the pop and the whatever, a moment where it's just like dead sound makes people like, wait, what's happening? And I just wanted some kind of pattern interrupt. That it's like, this is just different, just something to be vaguely memorable by. So like, I try to think of it from that way too, is like, what's going to make this stick out if it's in a lineup of 6 or 7 other videos?
And I would say too, event planners have told us, that a lot of times they'll just be honest. We watch the first 20 seconds. Like even if it's good, even if it's only 2, 3 minutes, we're watching because we're watching 5 or 10 of these things, or the decision maker will too. So I know my tendency is always to be linear and kind of like start here and build to the big crescendo at the end. That's just kind of my linear thinking versus, okay, whatever you do, Tom, kind of in that first 20 seconds, is there something that grabs them or differentiates or does the silence thing or just something where if they do only watch the first 15 or 20 seconds, will they see enough to say, oh, I do want to watch the full 3 minutes or 4 minutes?
Yeah, the
Thank you
issue
both.
I had is I told my video editors to put about a minute and a half's worth of stuff in the first 20 seconds. And they kept coming back and being like, you have to pick. And I was like, but I want all of these parts
Yeah.
in the first 20 seconds. It's a real challenge.
Tom, is that answering? Do you have any follow-ups to that? How else can we help with that?
That's really helpful. I mean, when I was initially asked for this, I went and got quotes from videographers and people who could do this for me, and I was like, you know what? Maybe I can put something together myself.
Yeah.
I don't know if I need to spend $1,500 on this right now. And so it's a good reminder, even the first 20 seconds, right?
Yeah.
Uh, I juggle. I teach people to juggle during my
Yeah.
session,
That's so
and so
awesome.
I need to figure out a way to show that in the first 20 seconds. But showing people learning how to juggle is kind of boring. And so I've got a couple of images where I've captured people celebrating juggling 3 balls for the first time. And and so that I think I'm going to push them to the first 20 a way to show those quickly, even while I'm talking, in order to just show what that excitement can look like.
I think that excitement, I think that's great. It shows your personality, it shows the excitement, but it also, I think if there's a way to put in, I know you kind of tie that to a bigger truth, and if there's a way to kind of get that bigger truth on the front end
Yes.
somehow as well, maybe that's even could be a voiceover. It's not the end of the world, but yeah, somehow in there too. So you're not just an entertainer, you're an entertainer with a point.
Yep.
And I
Yep.
think if we can get that in that first 20 seconds, that's gold.
Yeah. No, that's good. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
Well, we are at 3:13. So, Dallin, we will let you go. I know you're super generous.
Yeah.
I know you'd probably stick on here all day. But thank you for this. If you guys want to stick on another 5, 10 minutes, we can chat, debrief a little bit. Otherwise, you guys can just head out to the whatever your future is.
Wait,
But Dallin,
first
any
I
final,
have to tell you the thing.
yes, any final, yeah, go ahead. Is there any final thoughts
Yeah,
if you want to do the networking thing or whatever?
I have to do the
All
networking
right,
thing.
lay it on us.
Talk to people in person. You'll go places when you have events. I had 2 events this fall that came from when I was in Boise, Idaho last fall,
Mhm.
when I just walked into their office. I walked into the Idaho School Board Association. I walked into the Idaho Association of Cities. I messaged the people on LinkedIn before I was going to Boise and said, hey, I'd love to meet you while I'm there. Like, when I was in Wisconsin, I almost missed my flight because I went to their school board association because I was in the capital. Like, so few people, like they
Yeah.
get all the emails, they get all the cold calls. Seeing a human face
Hmm.
and like talking to a person does so much for you. And
Hmm.
it took a year for that to pay off. But like I've gotten so many opportunities, and to the same point, if you have the stamina for it, if you are at a conference, talk to people. And I'll share it so fast because I'm supposed to be done, but I like talking because
I'm trying
that's
to.
why I'm
We're on your
here.
dimes. You go. Yeah.
Uh, so when I went to the Meta event in Idaho, talked to the School Board Association in person. A year later, I'm speaking at the Idaho School Board Association. I do my thing. They have a little happy hour. It's like 6 o'clock. Everyone's going and doing dinner on their own. I'm like, I'm tired. I'm gonna go back to my room. But there is a gelato place across the street, and I like ice cream. Everywhere I go, I sample local ice cream. So I'm like, I'll get some gelato, take it back to my hotel room. On my way back to my hotel room, some people say, "Hey, Dallin, it's someone from the conference." They pull me over. I chat with them for a bit while I eat my gelato. And we just chat. Many of the things we've talked about here, they talk about pricing. I talk about how it's like, I'm the worst negotiator ever, but like, I like doing the thing. We talk, we joke. One of them is a school board member who works in insurance. And she's like, I go to all these insurance conferences. And she was like, maybe I should introduce you to some of them. Like, I would
Maybe.
love that. Like, let's connect on LinkedIn. So I find her on LinkedIn. We connect. Someone pats me on the shoulder and is like, you're actually here. And I was like, yeah. And they're like, you're like talking and being a person. And I was like, yeah, fun fact, I am in fact a person.
Turns out.
And they're like, it feels like most of the time the speakers like they do their thing and then they
Yep.
just they jet off or they hole up in their room, but like you're just here hanging out being a guy. And I'm like, I am in fact a guy. And they're come to the presidential suite and have some fancy whiskey. And I'm like, I don't drink, but I'll come see a cool suite. And then I talked to them. And by the end of that, they were like, hey, like they were mostly pretty drunk, but they said some things. And I was like, well, just remember that I can help solve that for you. I'll come talk to your staff at your school. And they're like, reach out to so and so. She's our PR person. She books them. So
Hmm.
like go find her and reach out. We'd love to have you. The lady I connected with on LinkedIn the next week sent me a message and said, we're planning an event in March and we were about to sign with this other speaker, but we love talking to you so much. Could you give our superintendent a call and like talk about some quotes and stuff? So I call him. Decent odds. Tiny rural Idaho school district might pay me full fee in
Yeah.
March, despite the fact that I told them I would give them a discount when I was eating gelato. But they're like, hey, we want to, like, you're about what we were going to pay the other guy anyway. And neither of those would have happened if I had done what I wanted to do and gone to bed. Like, I did not want to talk to people for 4 more hours until midnight, half of them being quite drunk. Like, that was a little much even for me, who loves talking to people. Like, I will network for 9 hours and have a grand old time. You start pushing 15, and I get tired.
15 for the
But,
year, right?
Steve.
but that's, I mean, two
Yeah.
opportunities
Yep.
that would not have happened if I hadn't have stayed a little longer and talked to the people. And at an opportunity that wouldn't have happened if I hadn't walked into a building with no invitation and
Hmm.
no one expecting me and just said, hey, I spoke for the Wyoming School Board. I was in town, just wanted to give you a card and say hi.
Yeah.
Like, I can trace, I mean, what, $30,000 in revenue
Hmm.
to being willing to walk into a place in person and hang out and laugh with some people and just
Yeah.
have a fun conversation while I ate some ice cream.
Just being human.
Yeah. And like I don't know, maybe other speakers are doing that. But based on the comments I get, it
Hmm.
seems like a lot of them aren't.
Correct.
And I get it because I was tired and I
Hmm.
didn't wanna. But like it's a people business. And
Yeah.
so in the digital age when people are having AI agents reach out on their behalf and we're doing cold calls and everyone's getting a million emails, I think there is always going to be an insane amount of power in just showing up places and being like, hi, it's me, a real live human. who has feelings and will laugh and joke and be real with you.
Yep.
Hey, Dallin, I loved how you said, hey, I can come solve that problem for you too. You weren't just saying, hey, I can come talk to you guys. You said, I can come help you save that or solve that problem or something along those lines. Did you
Yeah.
even, was that intentional or do you just kind of naturally do that?
I don't know, maybe both. In settings like that, I always try and do it like really jokingly because like they're several whiskeys deep and they're teasing and whatever, and they'll say like, oh, so and so, they really need your keynote. I'm like, well, you can always just give me a bunch of money and have me come tell it to them too. Like we're just joking around. And then if they're actually interested, they'll say like, no, really, please do. So like I'll often pitch it as in different ways as like I'm teasing like
But
in Q&As and keynotes, especially at associations. So I'm like, so I love what you're saying, but like if I have like these staff members that are really struggling with whatever, I'll always jokingly give the answer like, well, there's two ways to fix that. My favorite way is you pay me a lot of money and then I will come tell them to fix it. Or here are some things you can implement. And like it's a joke and people laugh, but it also kind of plants the seed of like, ooh, I could have him come do an internal thing with my crew. But I'm also giving them the value right now and I'm giving them the answer to make it clear. I'm not holding this back and saying, no, you only get my secrets if you hire me. It's like, here's the answer. But also,
I can help communicate
so,
that answer. Yeah.
yeah, I do that. I think that kind of stuff I do naturally, and I try to frame everything very problem focused because nobody's hiring, not nobody, few people are hiring a speaker. They are hiring a problem
Mhm.
solved,
Yep.
especially for my topics, which are mostly around interpersonal skills, conflict, culture, stuff like that,
Mhm.
where it's not just like we want a nice pump up thing or a magician to do our holiday party. Like I'm not primarily an entertainer. I'm more content focused.
Mhm.
Yeah. Well, good stuff. We'll end it there. I know we have a million other questions. We could talk for hours, that sort of thing too. Maybe we'll have an opportunity. And I think you and I need to exchange some rural electric association contacts because I've done a lot with a lot of those here in the Midwest. So we can talk about that. But Dallin, thank you so much for jumping on here. Super helpful. Thank you all to all the questions and stuff. We'll hang out a little bit if you guys want, but Dallin, we'll let you go there, man. And yeah, feel free to
All
follow up,
right.
and we'll share this with the rest of the group.
Well, thank you. Have a wonderful day. Happy
Thanks,
holidays.
Alan.
Thank
All
you,
right.
Dallin.
Take care, sir. Oh. I've got to answer the door. You guys can chat briefly if you want to hang
Oh,
on.
okay.
I'll be right back. I'll stop recording it though.
Okay.